It's all going belly up for America's trash, and brother, I'm here for it. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tyler Vance Rants. I am your host, Tyler Vance himself, and you're not. It's July 27th, 1985, and I, as you can see, am all back to normal, thanks to Baby Doll's daring escape from her captor, the NWA World Television Champion, the American Delusion, Dusty Rhodes. This week is mostly good news, as you'll see, but we're going to start with the World Wrestling Federation's flagship show, Championship Wrestling, where both Vince McMahon and the living cream puff Bruno Sammartino greet us on commentary. Tag team action is up first as the WWF Light Heavyweight Champion Les Thornton. Since when did the WWF have a Light Heavyweight Champion? He doesn't even have a belt. And Mr. X take on the WWF Intercontinental Champion Tito Santana and Pedro Morales. Mr. Fuji joins guest commentary to simply say,
"Who's Mr. Fuji, manager here?" What?
Before McMahon stupidly questions whether or not Mr. Fuji can consider himself Manager of the Year candidate, especially considering what he and his client, the Magnificent Morocco, did to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat last week. That propelled Mr. Fuji to the top of the mountain, if you ask me. Back to the action, the tandem of Morales and Santana work incredibly well together, while Thornton and Mr. X have as much cohesion as the United States Senate, with the masked man falling to a flying forearm from the WWF Intercontinental Champion. Speaking of WWF Intercontinental Champions, the WWF propaganda update this week focuses on the former champion, Greg the Hammer Valentine, who has outright blamed the horrible officiating for him losing to Tito Santana in a cage match. I even called for an end to the match a couple of times. The Hammer was robbed. It turns out that Valentine himself has demanded a rematch against Tito Santana for the WWF Intercontinental Championship, prompting that British buffoon Lord Awful Alfred Hayes to make a snide comment regarding the Hammer's manager, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
You can bet your bottom dollar the diminutive music man has a cunning plan up his colorful sleeve.
Mario Mancini takes on Macho Man Randy Savage in singles action next, and it turns out that Savage himself still has not made a decision when it comes to choosing his manager. Perhaps the Macho Man is simply waiting to see who is crowned Manager of the Year. A 500 IQ move in my opinion. The Macho Man wastes no time throwing Mancini to the floor before hitting the not-so-Super Mario with a double axe handle from the top rope. Back in the ring, it takes little effort for Randy Savage to employ a body slam and an elbow drop off the top rope to get an impressive 3. Greg the Hammer Valentine has brought his entourage out in force as he takes on Salvatore Bellomo one-on-one next. His manager, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, his tag team partner, Brutus Beefcake, and Beefcake's manager, Luscious Johnny Valiant, all stand ringside to cheer Valentine on. And for once, I actually feel bad for Bellomo, who has to suffer the wrath of a very angry Hammer. For reasons beyond me, both Hillbilly Jim and his fat slug of an Uncle Elmer make their way down to the ring. But now that I think about it, it's probably the atrocious smell wafting through the arena, courtesy of the animals in the crowd which lured the hillbillies. The smell of crap reminds them of home after all. Elmer and Jim distract Greg Valentine enough for Salvatore Bellomo to hit a standing dropkick, but Valentine is able to respond with a backbreaker once regaining his composure. From there, a figure 4 leglock secures the Hammer the win. More tag team action follows as Keith Diamond and leaping Lanny Poffo take on the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkoff, accompanied by classy Freddie Blassie. Volkoff attempts to sing the Soviet national anthem, but yet again is drowned out by the boos from the moronic masses. On top of this, having to look at this completely out-of-line sign. I want that idiot's sign confiscated, I want him ejected from the arena, and then I want him thrown in prison for hate speech. When the match begins, Poffo scores a near fall on the Iron Sheik following a sunset flip before both men tag in their respective partners. Volkoff, who is incensed at this anti-Soviet Union rhetoric prevalent among the uneducated moronic masses, throws Diamond violently to the floor before once again tagging in the Iron Sheik, who employs a back suplex once Diamond is back in the ring along with a camel clutch to get the win. Piper's Pit is short and sweet this week as Roddy Piper's guests are the returning Adrian Adonis along with his new manager Bobby the Brain Heenan. Both men have briefcases, and while one of them contains the $25,000 bounty to anyone who can eliminate Mr. Blunderful Paul Orndorff from wrestling, the other one? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Adonis addresses his absence, stating that he recently concluded a world tour where he found himself, after losing the WWF Tag Team Championships alongside Dick Murdoch to the US Express of Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo. No longer willing to be abused or used, Adrian Adonis has now placed his career in the hands, or rather brain, of the person that he trusts more than anyone, Heenan. Speaking of Mr. Blunderful, the Axe takes on Paul Orndorff in the next singles match, jumping him as soon as the bell rings, but Orndorff fights back with a body slam. A clothesline then nearly takes the masked man's head off before a pile driver nearly secures Mr. Blunderful the 3 count, but Roddy Piper wants a piece of that $25,000 pie. The pair go at it like a pack of wild dogs, but Paul Orndorff is not that bright, having forgotten about Hot Rod's ace in the hole, Cowboy Bob Orton, who joins in on the fun while Bobby the Brain Heenan shouts instructions from ringside until the locker room empties to break up the brawl. Aw, come on, let them fight! Let them fight! Let them fight! The main event of WWF Championship Wrestling is more tag team action as Jerry Adams and AJ Petruzzi take on George the Animal Steele and the Junkyard Dog, both of whom are accompanied by Captain Loser Albano. The captain dances like an absolute goof prior to the match before letting his animals off of the leash, who tear through their opponents as if they've been starved for weeks on end, as George Steele is the one to come away with the win for his team as he lifts Jerry Adams up with a raised hammerlock, forcing him to submit. The animal then helps himself to no less than 3 turnbuckle treats before Captain Albano says enough is enough.
Look at Steele. Oh, look, there he goes. There he goes.
Oh, stop the pain. The National Wrestling Alliance's flagship show, World Championship Wrestling, gets underway with Tony Schiavone on solo commentary, who immediately has a word with Jim Cornette, who has been gifted a brand new, beautiful tennis racket courtesy of his mother. And seeing something shiny, Schiavone attempts to put his grubby little hands all over it.
Don't touch it! You got a cheap death scare, man.
Pat Tanaka takes on the Nature Boy Buddy Landel, accompanied by James J. Dillon, in singles action to get WCW started proper. Landel scores a couple of quick hip tosses on Tanaka, but then has one employed on him in return. Pat Tanaka then comes off the ropes, but he is caught by Buddy Landel and draped over the ropes. A body slam double elbow combo then secures the Nature Boy the 3. Tony Schiavone's next guests are 2/3 of the NWA World 6-Man Tag Team Champions, the Russian Bear and the Russian Nightmare Ivan and Nikita Koloff, with Ivan Koloff stating that his nephew is still completely obsessed with the Nature Boy Ric Flair's NWA World Heavyweight Championship. To me, it's only a matter of time before the Russian Nightmare gets his hands on the Nature Boy and paints Red Square gold.
You are witnessing the downfall of your champion, Ric Flair.
Hold on to your seats because this is massive. Tony Schiavone's next guest is the NWA United States Heavyweight Champion, Tully Blanchard. That's right, do not adjust your screens. Moron TA is no longer the man representing the United States of America in the National Wrestling Alliance. And despite having several victories in less than 60 seconds under his leather chaps, Moron was taken to the absolute limit in a 45-minute war, courtesy of Blanchard. This all took place at a local event this past week, and it looks like there may be hope for the United States after all. Mad Dog Buzz and Brett Sawyer take on Randy Barber and Vernon Deaton in tag team action next, with Brett Sawyer offering a hand to Barber, which goes completely ignored. I wouldn't want to shake that greaseball's hand either. The brotherly bond of the Sawyers sees them continue to work incredibly well, dominating both of their opponents from bell to bell, with Buzz Sawyer coming away with the win for his team following a power slam from the second rope. The former NWA United States Heavyweight Champion, Moron TA, is backstage, calling out the new champion, Tully Blanchard, and vowing to make him pay for taking the championship away.
There's gonna be no mistaking what's gonna happen. I'm gonna come on you like nobody's ever come on you before. What's the...
The Minnesota Wrecking Crew warns you, Moron TA and the NWA National Tag Team Champions are no liars.
You ain't so tough now, are you, big boy?
But despite being beaten within an inch of his life, Moron then receives medical attention before admitting that both Arn and Ole Anderson hurt him more than he's ever been hurt in his entire career before. But now he's a wounded animal, and he is far from giving up.
Somewhere, I'm gonna get a piece of you. Somewhere, Ole and Arn Anderson, you're gonna make my day.
The Black Cat takes on the Russian Nightmare Nikita Koloff, accompanied by the Russian Bear Ivan Koloff, in more singles action next. And all Nikita Koloff sees under that mask is none other than the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, demonstrating just what Flair can expect the next time Koloff gets his hands on the Nature Boy, completely dominating the Cat until a Russian sickle nearly takes the masked man's head off to get Koloff the win. Tony Schiavone's next guest is the NWA World Heavyweight Champion himself, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, who is outraged at the audacity of the Russians' comments earlier.
It tells me that society needs to be shaken up. This is mine.
Flair himself admits that while he may not always get along with people such as the NWA World Television Champion, the American Delusion Dusty Rhodes, Harley Race, or even Moron TA, he respects them. But the same cannot be said for Ivan and Nikita Koloff.
You're gonna be mine, and that's the promise to America.
Joe Lightfoot and Sam Houston face off against Jim Cornette,
Loverboy Dennis, and beautiful Bobby, the Midnight Express.
in more tag team action, with Houston scoring a dropkick on beautiful Bobby Eaton, but gets thrown to the concrete floor as Eaton sidesteps him moments later before coming off the top rope with a double axe handle. Back in the ring, a swinging neckbreaker hits Sam Houston before he gets a desperate tag to Lightfoot, who goes on to be double teamed by the Midnight Express with a missile dropkick from Bobby Eaton, putting him down for the 3 count. Terry Taylor faces off against Larry Clark in an incredibly fast singles match next, as a quick forearm sees Taylor head to the top rope for an even quicker flying crossbody win. Tony Schiavone's next 2 guests are the Sawyer brothers, Mad Dog Buzz and Brett, who looks like he's always on the lookout for the nearest hot dog stand. The Sawyers are apparently done with the screaming and yelling.
Yelling and screaming's all over with.
But have taken issue with Jim Cornette's beautiful new tennis racket, claiming falsely that it's loaded with some kind of foreign object. Then, despite saying that the screaming and yelling is over, Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer loses his cool, barking incoherently.
Because when he was out here and he dropped it, and you're gonna tell me a tennis racket, you come on because the Sawyer brothers are ready to go.
I started this episode off by stating that this week there was more good news than bad news, but now I unfortunately have to share something absolutely terrible with you. As NWA National Tag Team Champion Arn Anderson looks to face off against the NWA World Television Champion, the American Delusion Dusty Rhodes, we can unfortunately see that Baby Doll has been recaptured by that scumbag of a champion.
Baby Doll, who ran away just last week, has come back to the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
That's the only explanation that we get. But despite being forced back into indentured servitude, Baby Doll takes every opportunity to cheer on Double A, even as he's thrown to the outside of the ring and hit with a bionic elbow to the head. Back in the ring, a shin breaker knocks Anderson down, but he's able to respond with a headbutt. Despite this, Rhodes continues his offensive with a body slam and a dropkick. Both men then collide, but the American Delusion is the first to recover, employing a suplex. A football tackle follows, causing the challenger to collide with referee Mike Fever, and as the champion applies a figure 4 leg lock, Ole Anderson comes to the rescue. Arn Anderson gets yanked into Fever a second time, but as the NWA World Television Champion goes up to the top rope to hit a bionic elbow, that goof Morontier arrives to count the 3, but suffers for his stupidity as he too is ambushed from the lurking Ole Anderson. The match is ruled a double disqualification while all 4 men brawl in the ring, which sees America's Trash come out on top before the duo head to the broadcast booth and vow to Tony Schiavone and anyone with a pair of ears listening that they are going to put the Andersons out of pro wrestling.
If you want some of America's team, you come and get it.
Abdullah the Butcher wastes no time butchering George South in the next singles match, securing an easy win following an elbow drop. Dick Slater is Tony Schiavone's next guest, and Slater himself is absolutely terrified that he himself is going to be the next one to suffer an unexpected attack because
There's a lot of nasty, nasty people around here, and Kevin Sullivan's another one.
despite Sullivan's threats, Slater states that he's still standing tall, despite admitting earlier that he practically urinated himself at the fear of being ambushed. Thank goodness for that broadcast booth, eh, Dickie? Talk is for lovers, and neither Dick Slater nor Kevin Sullivan are such. And after witnessing Slater's face in the moon along the river of the dead, it has been decreed that Dick Slater's head will be served on a platter to Kevin Sullivan. Oh, why does that keep happening? I seem to black out, and every time I come to, I have this pounding headache. But anyways, the Boogie Woogie Maniac and Pistol Pez Whatley team up to face Donald Ross and Jim Jeffers in more tag team competition. But before that can happen,
One of my old ladies had eyes for my best friend, so I went home and shot my dog.
bro, that's literally murder? Tony Schiavone, call the police right now! With the cops hopefully on their way, both Valiant and Whatley then make their way down to the ring, coming away with an easy win following a flying headbutt from the Pistol and an elbow drop from the Boogie Woogie Maniac. Pistol Pez Whatley stays behind on guest commentary as Rocky King takes on Bob Roop in the next singles match, discussing how the Pistol has taken on King as his protege, who goes down with a belly-to-belly suplex which prompts Whatley to rush to the squared circle and defend Rocky King from further assault, despite literally just stating on commentary that his protege needs to learn how to handle himself properly within the ropes. That was stupid. Pistol Pez Whatley, you're stupid. To wrap up WCW and the week, Tony Schiavone has a final word with the new NWA World Tag Team Champions, the Valley Girl Express of Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, who weren't
Teasing either, baby.
when they said that they were here to stay. I wish you were teasing, you stuttering geek. With that, the week comes to an end, and what a week it was. In the WWF, Roddy Piper attempted to ambush Mr. Blunderful Paul Orndorff and would have claimed the $25,000 bounty on his head if he weren't interrupted by the losers that make up the majority of the World Wrestling Federation's roster. Also, Les Thornton is apparently the WWF Light Heavyweight Champion? I'll need more information on that. In the National Wrestling Alliance, Mad Dog Buzz and Brett Sawyer inaccurately claim Jim Cornette's new tennis racket is loaded with something, and most importantly, Tully Blanchard was revealed to be the new NWA United States Heavyweight Champion. It's been a bad couple of weeks for America's Trash, as not only last week did the NWA World Television Champion, the American Delusion Dusty Rhodes, get outsmarted by Baby Doll before somehow recovering her this week, his tag team partner Moron TA not only lost the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship, but was then beaten to an inch of his life by the NWA National Tag Team Champions, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew of Arn and Ole Anderson. It's about time that the trash was finally taken out. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tyler Vance Rants. Don't forget to hit the bell, like the video, and subscribe so you're always notified of when a new episode is released. You can also follow me on social media where it is 1985 and pro wrestling all over again. That's all for now, so I'll see you next week. So long.
Asking all you fine Americans out there to please wear your seatbelts.
More tag team action follows as Keith Diamond, I almost said Keith David. What's he doing in a wrestling ring? Tony Schiavone's next what? For the NWA World Tag